This broadcast is a Stephen K. Media production.
The success of the small business person is the cornerstone of the American economy. Welcome to the Small Business Today Show with your hosts, Cruz and Hughes. The Small Business Today Show is for and about small business advancement and development. What we do for you. We'll be taking your calls as we provide you small business intelligence and mentorship needed to grow your business creatively. Keep listening. The Small Business Today Show with Cruz and Hughes starts now.
Hello and welcome back to today's episode of Small Business Today with Cruz and Hughes, where we broadcast live every day, Monday through Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Guys, this is the place where we discuss the topics that inspires entrepreneurs from thought to action. So if you're listening to this show, you must be an entrepreneur and you must need to be inspired to action.
That's right.
Herb, how was your day today, sir?
I had a great day today, man, especially coming off yesterday. You know, I got up this morning, I was all motivated.
I was feeling pretty good myself.
Yeah, man, we had a really good time on yesterday and had an opportunity right after the meeting broke up on last night to talk to a few of the graduates from the bonding education program that we did the remote ad on yesterday.
And if you guys remember, Irv and I did do a live remote on yesterday, and we did it from the offices of Houston Business Development, Inc. So we want to thank Marlon Mitchell for putting us up over there, who is the president of the organization. And there was a bonding education class. It was their inaugural class that they graduated on yesterday.
Yeah, they graduated 30 construction businesses.
Had a great turnout. The mayor of Houston was there, Miss Anise Parker.
Absolutely.
So
she took pictures with everybody.
She didn't take one with me.
Well, she didn't take one with me either.
Oh,
but we were doing the show.
Okay. All right. All right. Don't get me to feeling left out over here.
No.
Well, you know, we're going to have a great show today as well. We have a great guest in the studio with us. We have Mr. Lynn Girault. Am I saying your last name?
Perfectly, monsieur.
Okay, Lynn Girault, who is the director of a company called Lambda International. Now, Lynn has a BA from Duke. I love this guy. I mean, he's one of the most educated people that I know. He has a BA from Duke. He has a Master's of Architecture from the esteemed Rice University right here in Houston, Texas. And he also has an MBA from the Wharton School of Business up in Pennsylvania. And what Lambda does is you are a business consultant. Maybe I should put extraordinaire on the end of that because you've done a lot of things.
Well, thank you, John. First of all, thanks for the audience for listening to us. I hope the show is interesting. I think we're going to have an awful lot of interesting things to talk about. About your comment on my education, I'm reminded my mother used to say that I had more degrees than a thermometer. And then to which my wife would answer, yes, mother-in-law, but he's overeducated and underpaid.
Oh man, you know what? It's always somebody to keep us, to keep things in perspective.
They say, keep it real.
Keep it real. Well, don't believe that for one second. Now, Lynn has done a lot of good things. Lynn, you've worked as a consultant with companies like McKinsey, Booz Allen. So you've been around a little bit, and you know this business.
I've done the big company work, yes.
And now, how long ago was it that you were at McKinsey?
I was in McKinsey in 1990.
In 1990. Now, would you say that McKinsey is like the top company as it relates to business consulting?
I would say it is the top company.
Wow.
I would definitely say, having been away from it, 22 years, but having worked at other firms, I would definitely say that overall McKinsey is a top company. But I have to put in an extremely good word for Booz Allen, which is now known as Booz & Company, where I worked for 6 years. And Booz was a bit different from McKinsey, though McKinsey may have had perhaps more consultants worldwide, and it certainly had a larger brand name. But I think Booz had one thing which I found extremely important, and you mentioned it a while ago: entrepreneurial spirit.
Really?
And innovation. I worked at Booz, and I found that at Booz I could actually explore new territory, discover new clients, try to do things my way.
Yeah.
And I had an awful lot more flexibility at Booz than at McKinsey, though I have to tell you, they're both absolutely magnificent companies, and I do believe that McKinsey is an excellent institution.
Now, one of the things that I think about is when you were a consultant with some of these larger firms, what do you think the major difference is now that you consult entrepreneurial organizations? What do you think the major difference is? Because some entrepreneurs, and Irv, we've discussed this as well, they feel as though that they're missing out on something by being small. And I'd like to know, what's your approach in terms of where do entrepreneurs get it right And where is it then that they could learn from the big guys?
Okay, well, let me take your question in pieces. What are the small entrepreneurs missing out? Well, I think they're definitely missing out by not being big and not using the resources that the big companies use on an awful lot of experience and a wealth of resources that the big companies have.
Okay.
But I think that really what you're talking about is something slightly different. It is, what can the small companies learn from the big companies that will help them grow?
Right.
And that's really what we're going to. I find, having done consulting for both large companies and small companies, and having been both at large organizations and at smaller organizations, that there are certain differences in the approaches that have to be considered. For example, a McKinsey doing a consulting for a major company is basically unconscious of any limitation of resources. They're looking at the broad market. For them, it's very important, where can we find another $300, $500 million share of market?
Mm-hmm.
They're not so constrained or worried about where we're going to find somebody with that expertise, because they know that somebody in that large company is going to have it.
Yeah.
Now, when you do small company consulting, it's totally different. The market is a horizon. The market is practically unlimited. It's out there. You have a company that sells maybe $10, $20 million. The question is, of course, how can I sell $20 more million? But it's also, where am I going to get the $1 or $2 million that I need to invest?
Absolutely.
And where am I going to get the resources? So the definition of strategy for a large firm, as a large consulting company see it, is, where can I find the biggest ocean to play in?
Mm-hmm.
And then the question for the smaller companies is, where can I find the biggest bucket that I can go play in the ocean with?
Mm.
Because for them, the ocean is limited. It's a question of
Right.
what bucket can they bring to the
That's
water.
very true.
Wow.
So it's a different framework. And I found that in some of the projects I did at Booz, we had, for example, very, very senior consultants come down from the United States, and we were doing projects in South America where the scale of the company was a lot smaller. You know, even a big company there would be only $200 million,
Okay.
which is big by Latin American terms, but small in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the techniques and some of the recommendations that our top consultants from Booz were bringing down were just applicable for companies that were 10 times bigger.
Mm.
You know, they were like bringing a size XXL to somebody who was still wearing size M.
Yeah,
And it just
yeah.
didn't fit.
Right.
Not that it wasn't a good jacket. It was a great jacket. But, you know, XXL isn't going to fit somebody who needs size M.
Now, for those who may not be familiar with Lambda International, let's talk a little bit about what Lambda does, who your target client is, what size company do you work with right now?
Okay.
And go ahead.
We work with most of our clients are companies under $50 million, and we really are called upon in three situations. The first one, and we've been getting a lot of this in the last 3 or 4 years, entrepreneurs who already have one company, or they've already sold it, or they're in the process of selling it, but they want to start another one.
Mm-hmm.
But this time they tell us, I want to do it right. The first time I did it all by the seat of my pants, by burning the midnight oil. This time I'd like to have somebody who is an experienced business consultant and somebody who knows how to develop business plans, who can help me do it right, perhaps take a bit of that load off my shoulders, somebody that I can bounce ideas off of, use somebody who's got another 200 companies of experience to bring to bear on my problem. And that way, when I develop my company and get the business plan together, I know that it's not just me alone. The business owner says, it's me and you and everybody else that you've worked with whose experience is indirectly helping me.
Mm-hmm.
So we're getting an awful lot of work from entrepreneurs who are now going the second go round, but they don't want to do it alone. They want to have somebody to help them.
Very nice.
That's an awful lot of work. The second amount of work is what I call the concrete ceiling. And this is something a lot of people are going to relate to, especially in 2012, when a lot of companies are selling a lot less than they were selling in 2008. And that is, companies have been marching along. They hit a little air pocket in 2008. They thought they were going to come back, but in some ways, for some reason or another, they just haven't come back.
Mm-hmm.
They just can't break out of that sales level. And so they come to us because they really need an outside opinion as to not what they're doing wrong, but what they could do better.
Mm-hmm.
They need somebody to tell them that perhaps new client segments they haven't looked at, that perhaps they haven't tweaked their products enough, that perhaps maybe they need to change some of their internal processes to make the company go faster, be more innovative, stay more in tune, or move into social media, which a lot of companies still, believe it or not, are very slow in moving into. Because, for example, we did a survey at Rice last year, and the difference between respondents, small business owners under 35, they were very, very active in social media. Those small business owners over 35, say over 40, very, very lagging in social media. It was like black and white in terms of their responses. So that's an area where we definitely are coming to bring a little bit of influence in the marketplace, trying to get people to move into social media. And the third one is what I call transition. When a business owner has decided that he or she wants to sell the business, and then we're brought in to see what we can do to make it more saleable. Not in an accounting point of view, but in a strategic point of view. Kind of try to squeeze that extra few drops of profitability out of it. Generally, it's not anything major. It's more of a fine-tuning, but it's also effective.
Well, you know, we're about to take a break, but when we come back, I want to ask you a question that Irv is always talking about. He always talks about, you call it the concrete ceiling. Irv refers to it as that slippery slope.
That's right.
When you've grown to a point to where you just, no matter what you do, you cannot get over that level of production, or, you know, you've set a bar that, you know, that you just can't cross anymore. I want to know what that number is from your point of view versus what Irv and I talk about on the show. Guys, our guest today is Mr. Lynn Giraud. Lynn is the director of a company called Lambda International, and he is a business consultant extraordinaire. If you'd like to get in touch with Lynn, you can do so at www.lambda, lambdainternational.net. Stay with us. You're listening to Small Business Today with Cruz and Hughes, which is brought to you by Small Business Today magazine. If you want to get a copy of the publication free in your inbox every month, go to smallbusinesstodaymagazine.com, and we'll be happy to do that for you. Back in a moment with Mr. Lynn Giraud.
Turn up the sales on your website today with anythinginternet.com. Anything Internet will evaluate your website for marketing power, for traffic, for conversion rates. We'll figure out why people buy and why people go away. We'll help you generate the correct traffic that will turn into customers and make you money. Turn the juice up on your website today with anythinginternet.com. Turn your website into a web business. 1-800-686-5986.
Very often, people come to me saying,
Stephen, how do I make radio advertising work?
Or even worse,
we've tried radio ads before and got little to no response.
So how do you make the radio work for you? Well, you could have a clever jingle.
Come buy my stuff. Come buy my stuff.
Or you may act crazy and loud and have an unbeatable offer.
I'll save you cash, I'll save you time, and I'll do it today, guaranteed.
But these techniques may work for some and not for others. The real key to advertising is to go back to basic marketing principles. Target your ideal prospect, make your message clear and concise, and touch the listener by connecting to their needs. Stephen K. Media specializes in radio advertising promotion that effectively broadcasts your company's message, yielding higher response and better results. As an independent agency representing major talk radio stations, we help you negotiate rates and place your ads targeting your ideal prospect. Call us today at 713-278-9109 or visit stephenk.biz. That's 713-278-9109 or email info@stephenk.biz. Are you looking to improve your health and well-being? Have you lost your energy and vitality? Do you wake up feeling 10 years older than you actually are? Looking for a doctor who really listens? Looking for a natural alternative to your chronic health challenge? Dr. Dan Cuny is a chiropractic nutritionist who helps restore your health from the inside out using whole food supplements and specific nutritional counseling. Learn more about Dr. Dan's 7 Pillars of Health on his website, drdancuny.com, or give him a call at 713-295-9358.
Introducing the alternative to heavy news. Now,
Excuse me, heavy news?
you know, disasters, politics, stock market,
And this alternative is...
coffee news. It's entertaining stories, famous quotes, and family fun. It's light news. Why it's so light, it's free.
Free?
In restaurants and coffee shops all across Houston. So next time you're waiting in a restaurant, look for coffee news. If they don't have it, tell them to get it by visiting coffeenewshouston.com.
It's light. It's free. It's coffee news.
Now playing at Regal Entertainment Group Theaters.
From Christopher Nolan.
The storm's coming.
The legend ends in IMAX. What are you? I'm Gotham Dracula. The Dark Knight Rises. Rated PG-13. Visit IMAX.com for showtimes and listings.
Go to www.regmovies.com to find showtimes and buy your tickets to this and other great feature films now. That's www.regmovies.com.
You're listening to Small Business Today. Visit us on the web at cruzandhughes.com. Here are your hosts, Cruz and Hughes.
Okay, welcome back to the show. Our guest today is Mr. Lynn Girault. Lynn is the director over Lambda International. If you want to connect with Lynn, you could go to lambdainternational.net. Lynn is an esteemed business advisor. I love having him on the show. I love talking to him about small business because he does have so many ideas, and the chat room already is filling up with questions. So if you don't mind, Lynn, can we field a couple of these?
Fire away.
Well, a good friend of ours who comes and he or she, I don't know if it's a him or her, watches the show or listens to the show all the time, but they're asking, in terms of social media, is social media measurable in the way of monetary sales, and why is it that large companies are abandoning social media? So it's a two-part question.
Well, I don't think large companies are abandoning social media. I think large companies are migrating to another relationship with social media. I think right now what they're using social media for is, one, to broaden and deeper their understanding of the client and establish a long-term relationship with their clients and their customers. Which means that by having interactions with them, by getting feedback from them,
right,
by having a much, much deeper understanding than just somebody picking a box off the shelf, that is really breaking through something that the companies had never been able to do before, which is reach the hand of the person who picks up the product.
Surely.
Before, they had to go through advertising agencies, they had to go through TV or radio stations, or they had to go through their distributors or the supermarkets. Now, for the first time in history, they can actually go and touch the hand of their clients. And that is an enormous transfiguration in the relationship between a company and its customers. So absolutely no way do I think that they're actually abandoning that. The second thing that's happening, and I bring this up because I've just delivered a talk on it yesterday, is that companies are turning to their clients to give them ideas for new products. Mm-hmm. It's the idea called crowdsourcing,
right?
Where you actually go out and you do enormous surveys, or you have enormous involvement of potential customers. What features would you like in the product? Would you like to be small and gray or round and blue? Whatever characteristics. And depending on the client feedback and the client segmentation, which now they can access very easily, where before they couldn't, boy, that is driving innovation. That's driving companies' development of new products. So I would say that it's clear that companies have moved from social media 1, which was just how can I use this to sell boxes, move products, support my other ad campaigns, to now this is really social media 3.4, 5.10, whatever. It's a new type of use of social media to really integrate the customer into the thought process of the company.
So then should a company look at its social media campaigns as something that they can measure monetarily? I mean, is that something that a company should that be the outlook, or should that be the purpose?
I would put what I would call a secondary monetary value on it, meaning you can't say I'm going to receive $5 of sales for every dollar I invest in social media.
Okay.
You can't do that for one reason, because the effects are long-term, they're incremental, and they're compounding. So that dollar that you put in today and that dollar that you put in tomorrow aren't necessarily going to be seen on sales this Saturday. But the thing is that if you don't put those dollars in and your competitors do,
certainly, that's
then
it.
You are going to be the one who some Saturday down the road are not going to have sales.
So now that brings up a good question, Lynn. So what then does a business, a large business, do? Does social media impact the customer acquisition cost? In other words, does that increase the customer acquisition cost, decrease it, or do they get a better quality of customer because they do have direct contact?
I think I'd say all of the above. Let me start from the end.
Okay.
It certainly increases the quality of customer because you now have a better relationship with the customer.
Sure.
And that leads to long-term loyalty. So in that sense, it's going to be a much better customer for you.
Absolutely.
Does it increase it? Well, it increases in the short term in the sense that you're investing now in social social media, but you're not necessarily seeing the benefit of that immediately. So I would say in the short term, it may increase your short-term costs. However, over the long term, I have to say that it has to reduce it. Why? Because you are migrating from a whole series of ad campaigns and ad vehicles that aren't necessarily as focused or as effective as that one-to-one social media. And you're moving into that idealized one-to-one space where you can actually talk to your customer. So once the game is over, when all is said and done, I think you're going to see that customer acquisition costs have gone down because of social media.
You know, and I like the point that you brought out in the first segment where you said that smaller companies should be using the same resources and tools that larger companies are using. And this is something that a smaller outfit could do. They could send surveys to their companies. They could ask questions. They could get the opinions of the people that they are selling to, just like Coca-Cola is doing, just like Google is doing. I mean, some of the larger brands that we see are really taking advantage of the fact that they now have a one-on-one relationship with the people who are buying their product.
Absolutely. To actually have something in which smaller companies can have an advantage, I would say here smaller companies have an advantage of focus because they don't have to cover such a sophisticated market as larger companies. They can actually focus on smaller segments. Don't forget, the bucket they take to the ocean is a lot smaller than the bucket that the big company takes.
Surely.
So they can actually be more effective in the sense of focusing their ad spending via social media on very determined target segments.
Now, before we get into the business evaluation and diagnostics, because I definitely want you to cover that today.
Absolutely.
I know we sort of set up the slippery slope question.
Right.
Now, Irv, when you talk to small businesses, you've noticed that slope being what?
Yeah, that, you know, when I get a hold of small businesses, they're coming up from really a startup. That's where I'm getting them. I deal with the folks that generally nobody else wants to deal with. They're at 0 to 2 years old kind of place. And if they've got a good business model in, a lot of times these guys will develop their revenues up into about a 1.6, coming around $2 million in sales. And then that's where we see the churn happen. I see a lot of that where they're in this place where, you know, it's 1.6, then it's 1.5, then 1.7, then 1.4, then 1.5 again. And so they'll go through years of what I'm calling this churn where they really don't have consistent growth year over year. And so the question really is, do you see that across all industries? Because I see that across all industries, and that's where I see it in their development. But I'm sure companies hit that at just about all levels. So what's your opinion on that?
My opinion is that, yes, you're right. There is definitely a very immediate concrete ceiling. Then there's a medium-term concrete ceiling. And there's a long-term concrete ceiling.
So it happens at every level.
It happens at every level. Let me do the immediate concrete ceiling, I think, is somewhere between $1 and $2 million. But you have to specify what industry you're in. For example, if you've got a corner store and you're the one who's handling it, you know, you're only going to have a certain percentage of traffic, and you're going to draw traffic from a certain area around your neighborhood. So that concrete ceiling is going to be very, very low. It may be around $400,000, $500,000, and that's just basically the owner, a couple of people working, you know, maybe the wife, the son, the daughter. So that's very low, but that's a very specific case. I see a concrete ceiling more in the area of around $1 million to $2 million.
Yeah, and that's what
and I've tried to think about that, and as to the explanation I can find is that it's really an organizational issue. For the following reason, if you think about it, most industries tend to generate sales of about $200,000 per employee. It's a typical range, somewhere between $150,000 to $250,000 is a typical number.
Okay.
And if you look at it, the span of control for one person, and this is studies that we did at Booz, for example, is somewhere around 7 people. Once a person has to manage more than 7 people, things start to get out of control. So if you multiply 7 people by $200,000, you've got $1.5 million, more or less. So what I think happens is that that $1.5 million level, the owner really has to make a decision. I'm making about $200,000, $300,000 now, but I'm running it all whatever. If I want to go to the next level, I need to create an organization under me. I need to create a chief financial officer. I need to delegate my responsibilities in administration. I'm probably going to need to hire somebody who's a really good salesman. So I need at least 3 top people under me. I may need a 4th person under for human resources as well. So then I find that the medium-term concrete ceiling is somewhere around $4, $5, $6 million, because what happens, the owner has set up that secondary tier, and that secondary tier again has 2, 3, 4 people under them. So you've got a company with about maybe 25, 30 people working.
Sure.
And that's a good, solid $5 million company. But to take that to the next level, which is the $15 to $25 million, you're probably going to have to do an awful lot of concrete pouring and rebar tying.
Yeah, it's a bigger
to
project.
Take it to the next level. And that's when you really have the need for more capital, because most of those small companies just don't have the internal capital to do it. And you're going to have to need more know-how. And most of all, I think you're going to have to need the chutzpah of the owner to say, I really want to do it.
Yeah, that's right.
No doubt.
And that's not easy, because it is a complicated world. And
you know, and as I think about, let's go back to that small level, that $1 to $2 million level. What do you think is the reason that some owners don't set up that organizational structure underneath them? Because when I look at it, I see it being cost, meaning that if the company is just doing, if we're doing marginally well, and I have to set this up, bring more people in, bring more talent in, then they're thinking that means less money for me at the end of the day. Do you think that's the reason why they don't do it?
I don't think it's because it's less money. I think it's a trade-off between the comfort zone that they're in and the fear zone that you're asking them to enter.
Wow,
I don't think it's ultimately about money. I think it's about what they want.
We have absolutely got to jump back on that, because you opened a giant can of worms right there, Mr. Cruz. Let me tell you.
I do my best.
Folks, you're listening to Small Business Today with Cruz and Hughes. It's brought to you by RingCentral.com. To get RingCentral's virtual PBX for your business, you can call them today at 888-716-5022. More in a moment with Lynn Geralt right after this.
Turn up the sales on your website today with AnythingInternet.com. Anything Internet will evaluate your website for marketing power, for traffic, for conversion rates. We'll figure out why people buy and why people go away. We'll help you generate the correct traffic that will turn into customers and make you money. Turn the juice up on your website today with AnythingInternet.com. Turn your website into a web business. 1-800-686-5986.
Very often, people come to me saying,
Stephen, how do I make radio advertising work?
Or even worse,
We've tried radio ads before and got little to no response.
so how do you make the radio work for you? Well, you could have a clever jingle.
Come buy my stuff. Come buy my stuff.
Or you may act crazy and loud and have an unbeatable offer.
I'll save you cash, I'll save you time, and I'll do it today, guaranteed.
But these techniques may work for some and not for others. The real key to advertising is to go back to basic marketing principles. Target your ideal prospect, make your message clear and concise, and touch the listener by connecting to their needs. Stephen K. Media specializes in radio advertising promotion that effectively broadcasts your company's message, yielding higher response and better results. As an independent agency representing major talk radio stations, we help you negotiate rates and place your ads targeting your ideal prospect. Call us today at 713-278-9109 or visit stephenk.biz. That's 713-278-9109 or email info@stephenk.biz. Are you looking to improve your health and well-being? Have you lost your energy and vitality? Do you wake up feeling 10 years older than you actually are? Looking for a doctor who really listens? Looking for a natural alternative to your chronic health challenge? Dr. Dan Cooney is a chiropractic nutritionist who helps restore your health from the inside out using whole food supplements and specific nutritional counseling. Learn more about Dr. Dan's 7 Pillars of Health on his website, drdancooney.com, or give him a call at 713-295-9358.
Introducing the alternative to heavy news. Now at,
Excuse me, heavy news?
you know, disasters, politics, stock market,
And this alternative is...
coffee news. It's entertaining stories, famous quotes, and family fun. It's light news. Why it's so light, it's free.
Free?
In restaurants and coffee shops all across Houston. So next time you're waiting in a restaurant, look for coffee news. If they don't have it, tell them to get it by visiting coffeenewshouston.com.
It's light. It's free. It's Coffee News.
Now playing at Regal Entertainment Group Theaters.
From Christopher Nolan. The storm's coming. The legend ends in IMAX. What are you? Gotham Reckoning. The Dark Knight Rises. Rated PG-13. Visit IMAX.com for showtimes and listings.
Go to www.regmovies.com to find showtimes and buy your tickets to this and other great feature films now. That's www.regmovies.com.
You're listening to Small Business Today with Cruz and Hughes. Follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. We're wherever you are.
Okay, welcome back to the show. Our guest today is Mr. Lynn Girault. Lynn is the director of Lambda International. If you would like to connect with Lynn, you could give him or you go on his business website. You connect with him through there, which is lambdainternational.net. Now, we were talking a little bit about slippery slope in the last segment, and then Lynn all of a sudden gives us these explosive ideas and everything through the break. Let's sort of take it from there.
Well, sure. Well, right before we were leaving, you were talking about why some people, some organizations don't grow past through that slippery slope to the next level.
Right.
And you were talking about whether or not it was these decisions not to necessarily grow were driven by cost or expense.
Right.
And so Lynn had kind of started in on what some of those drivers might be that might cause somebody to pull back on the reins, so to speak.
Sure. Well, don't forget, business is a big spectrum. From the person on the street corner selling candy to the CEO of Exxon or General Motors managing 200, 300, 400,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Everybody in that spectrum at the end is measured by the same ruler. Is your company making money?
Yeah.
Are you contributing something positive to society? Are you giving value to your employees and ultimately to the stockholders?
Sure.
In the case of the one person, it's yourself. Now, I think the truth is that the challenges faced along that spectrum change, and they change enormously. I have a hypothesis that at the beginning, it's an artisan business, which is the person who's very good at making chocolates,
mm-hmm.
or the person who's very good at preparing food, or the person who's a great engineer.
Sure.
And so they set up a business basically around their own skills. And like I commented before, they can probably find 5, 6, 7 people that can help them work around those skills and then get to a level of about $1.5 million.
Mm-hmm.
But they're still at the artisan level. Then come what I consider the industrialist, which is they have to know not just how to do something, but they have to manage people.
Yes.
And so that's when the companies start growing to 30, 40 people, and then you get them anywhere between a $5 million and a $15 million business,
mm-hmm.
Depending on what industry they're in.
Sure.
However, that industrialist has a whole series of skills that then may not be enough for the next level. The next level is what I'm calling the conglomerator, which is somebody who's really putting different business units together
mm-hmm.
into a much larger corporation. Mm-hmm. And those are the companies that you see growing to the $100, $200, $300 million range.
Right.
It's a different set of skills that you need to be a conglomerator. The artisan has to know how to do something, the industrial has to know how to manage people, and the conglomerate has to know how to manage whole organizations.
But all three can be successful, obviously, depending on what their objective, what they call success, right?
I think success is developable all along that spectrum.
Sure.
Just because I'm a $250,000 business, it's, say, my wife and myself, but we're making money, we can feed the kids, we're out of debt.
Sure.
That means I am a success.
Yeah, you're living a nice life.
I am just as much a success as a Steve Jobs, may he rest in peace, or Bill Gates,
sure.
or the chairman of Exxon, because I've actually done it. I'm contributing it. Mm-hmm. And I think that the larger areas of business are not necessarily right for everybody. There are people simply whose skills or their personalities make them feel uncomfortable in those large organizations.
Well, I was about to ask that question, Lynn. Somebody who may have an idea that they do want to grow their company past perhaps where they are, can that aspiration get them into trouble? Because a lot of times people might launch into things that they think they want and, boy, get there and find out, I just added a bunch of hours, or I just added a bunch of headache that I didn't anticipate.
There's a saying, be careful what you wish for, you just might get it.
That's right.
And that is true in the business world as everywhere else.
Sure.
For sure. Look at the case of that individual who, say, built up a business by himself. He's at the $5 million level.
Sure.
Then he grows to the $15 million level. What happens? He doesn't have that much control over the business as he did before.
That's right.
At the $5 million level, he could walk in every day, and I bet you he knew the names of everybody on his staff. At the $15 million level, you're probably talking somewhere around 100 people, maybe a couple hundred people. I don't think he's going to know everybody. And decisions are being made that affect his company that he may not, or he or she may not even know about. So it's a different level of relationship with your company.
Right.
At the beginning, for small business owner, the company is part of the extended family.
Right.
There's mom, there's pop, there's Junior, there's Betty, and there's a company.
That's right.
And they're all sitting at the dinner table.
Yeah.
Of course, they're all thanking the company for being at the dinner table. But when you get into the larger organization, that is no longer true. And that's a sacrifice that a lot of these business owners feel.
Sure.
That it's no longer the same company as it was when they were starting out.
You know, Lynn, I've actually heard people say, you know what, it's not fun anymore.
I don't doubt it.
And I've literally heard that from successful business owners. John and I were talking about one particular case where a gentleman was really, just nationally recognized for his achievements in his business, and he was here in Houston. And I had the opportunity of working directly with him. And one day we were in his office, and he literally sat back in his chair, and he says, Irv, I don't like this at all.
Oh, that is sad. Well, maybe we can review what small business owners can do so that they can grow and they can be happy and they can say, Irv, I like this a lot.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Because that's really what we need to tell them.
Right.
And if you don't mind, I'd like to give them some just a little some piece of advice. I think everybody can grow their business. I think it's just important that you have to follow a few basic tenets. When you're small, I think it's very important that you stick to your knitting. The key thing a business owner has to do is find out what he or she is good at, what they can do better than anybody else, what they can excel at, because it's not good enough to be good. You have to be really good. The companies that grow are those that can do something really, really well, and therefore serve a need for their clients much better than anybody else. Nobody grows by being mediocre. That's a fact of life. C's do not get you ahead in the company schoolyard. That's for sure at all. So you really have to be excellent. And so there I would recommend those small business owners to look inside their firm as well as themselves and see what it is that they can do with total excellence. An important thing that they have to do at that point is also to see what do they need to complement themselves. Because no man is an island.
Right.
Nobody can do both excellence in operations, excellence in finance, excellence in sales, excellence in customer relations. You have to be good at one thing and not so good at others. That's the law of life. So you do need to find other people that can help complement you.
So we're talking partnerships here.
We're talking, well, not necessarily partnerships. They can be employees at the beginning.
Okay.
I see spiritual partnerships because I do think that a company to be successful, those employees have to be spiritual partners in the firm.
Okay.
They have to see themselves just as much as an owner as the actual owner is.
Absolutely.
If they don't, that's when the problems are going to begin.
They've got to be in on it.
But let's assume that they're all yelling, hallelujah, we are all in this together.
Absolutely.
And that they do take the company up. I think the next step is when they're trying to grow is when the small business owner has to start thinking partnership, bringing in new people. And that's where I would definitely agree with you. At that $15 million level, and that, by the way, is when private equity firms start looking around. I've been told by a lot of private equity people that the $15 million is really the bottom of size of companies they look at. And I said, why? Well, because that's the first level where you really find companies that have made it.
Yeah.
That they're coming out of the wood yard, so to speak. That they have something to show, and there's something solid that we can say can be taken, polished, and grown.
Yeah.
So I would definitely say at the $15 million level, that's when company owners have to start looking at being a conglomerator. Am I doing it alone, or am I going to bring in some other people that will help me really take the company to the highest point?
Right.
Now, one of the things that I did want to talk about is the business evaluation and diagnostics that you talk about. And it sounds as though we've sort of gotten into that just a little bit. But explain that to me. I mean, this is a service that you provide.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about it.
Well, it comes from the fact that working with a lot of small and medium-sized business owners, we found that there really was not a tool that we could use to understand very quickly what their problems were and help us drive to solutions. So then we ended up forming an alliance with a company called Evalusys out of North Carolina, which has an excellent software product called the Evalusys Business Evaluation Diagnostic, an online software program. And this is a program which drills mostly into the interior of the company. It is a survey that the owner takes, and it asks all sorts of questions as to their processes, their strategy, their organization, their financials. And it's a very intelligent program in the sense that when you say that you are less than good in one of the areas, then that area will drill down and open up, and you will be able to go down deeper. If you say I'm perfect in this, then it will not go down so much. Say let's not polish the shiny. Let's work on where there really is something to do. So we formed an alliance with this company, and it's an excellent tool, and we've used it on a beta with various clients, and it's really helped us clarify a lot. We realized, though, that was not enough. That what the business owner was saying about his or her own company is only part of the story. We needed to know, what is a business owner like? I've just been talking to you about the personality factor, whether they're an artisan, whether they're an industrialist. Well, it so happened that there's another company called Insights Limited, which has a personality profile evaluator.
We need to hold you right there.
I'm holding.
I need to hold you right there, because that is good. One of the things I want to do is I want to make sure we get time to talk about war games.
Okay, we'll talk about everything.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that for sure. Folks, you're listening to Small Business Today with Cruz and Hughes. It's brought to you by the Lexington Law Firm. Listen, when you need credit help, get a free consultation today by calling 888-744-7081. Don't go away. We've got Lynn Geralt in the house. The education continues in just a moment.
Turn up the sales on your website today with anythinginternet.com. Anything Internet will evaluate your website for marketing power, for traffic, for conversion rates. We'll figure out why people buy and why people go away. We'll help you generate the correct traffic that will turn into customers and make you money. Turn the juice up on your website today with anythinginternet.com. Turn your website into a web business. 1-800-686-5986.
Very often, people come to me saying,
Stephen, how do I make radio advertising work?
Or even worse,
we've tried radio ads before and got little to no response.
So how do you make the radio work for you? Well, you could have a clever jingle.
Come buy my stuff. Come buy my stuff.
Or you may act crazy and loud and have an unbeatable offer.
I'll save you cash, I'll save you time, and I'll do it today, guaranteed.
But these techniques may work for some and not for others. The real key to advertising is to go back to basic marketing principles. Target your ideal prospect, make your message clear and concise, and touch the listener by connecting to their needs. Stephen K. Media specializes in radio advertising promotion that effectively broadcasts your company's message, yielding higher response and better results. As an independent agency representing major talk radio stations, we help you negotiate rates and place your ads targeting your ideal prospect. Call us today at 713-278-9109 or visit stephenk.biz. That's 713-278-9109 or email info@stephenk.biz. Are you looking to improve your health and well-being? Have you lost your energy and vitality? Do you wake up feeling 10 years older than you actually are? Looking for a doctor who really listens? Looking for a natural alternative to your chronic health challenge? Dr. Dan Cuny is a chiropractic nutritionist who helps restore your health from the inside out using whole food supplements and specific nutritional counseling. Learn more about Dr. Dan's 7 Pillars of Health on his website, drdancuny.com, or give him a call at 713-295-9358.
Introducing the alternative to heavy news. Now,
Excuse me, heavy news?
you know, Disasters, politics, stock market.
And this alternative is
Coffee News. It's entertaining stories, famous quotes, and family fun. It's light news. Why it's so light, it's free.
free.
In restaurants and coffee shops all across Houston. So next time you're waiting in a restaurant, look for Coffee News. If they don't have it, tell them to get it by visiting coffeenewshouston.com.
It's light. It's free. It's Coffee News.
Now playing at Regal Entertainment Group Theaters.
From Christopher Nolan. The storm's coming. The legend ends in IMAX. What are you? I'm Gotham Reckoning. The Dark Knight Rises. Rated PG-13. Visit IMAX.com for showtimes and listings.
Go to www.regmovies.com to find showtimes and buy your tickets to this and other great feature films now. That's www.regmovies.com.
You're listening to Small Business Today. Visit us on the web at cruzandhughes.com. Here are your hosts, Cruz and Hughes.
Okay, welcome back to the show. Our guest today is Mr. Lynn Girault. He is the director of Lambda International. If you would like to connect with Lynn, you could go to his business website, which is www.lambdainternational.net. Now, Lynn, we were talking a little bit about those three people, artisans, conglomerators, and industrialists. And you were making a point before we went to break. Do you remember where we were?
Yes, I was telling you about the service we have, the Business Diagnostics Service.
Correct.
It's called Business Evaluation and Diagnostic Service, or BEDS. And we developed it because we saw that business owners needed some external advice as to where they were.
Sure.
So we put together what we call a 3-in-1 product, which has, on one leg, we have an extraordinary software developed by ValueSys in North Carolina, which is an internal analysis of the company, which the company owner fills out. And it basically evaluates how good his processes are, how they are taking care of the strategic issues, whether the organization is functioning the well it should be. And it's an extremely valuable tool. And from that, we get one of our visions, which is how is the internal functioning of the company. Now, we realized that there were two other things that had to be taken into consideration. The second one ties in with what's the entrepreneur like?
Mm-hmm.
You know, is he an industrialist? Is he an artisan? Or is he a conglomerator? Now, unfortunately, we don't have a software developed that yet, but we did find something which really is helpful. A company called Insight Group, that's Insight, has a software which lets you, via word pairings, identify what kind of a leader the business owner is. For example, they have a whole series of prototype leaders. For example, are you an observer, somebody who's just more willing to watch but not necessarily take an active hand? Or on the other side, are you a motivator, somebody who's very active behind the scenes trying to get people to move? Or are you a coordinator, just trying to keep everything moving? So they have done a whole in-depth analysis, and we use that analysis to see what kind of a leader are you. For example, if the ValueSys analysis tells us that there really are significant processes that need to be fixed, but we find that the business owner is more of a introverted, passive, analytical type, then we're going to say we have a challenge because we need to do some big changes on the processes, and who's going to lead that? Okay. If on the other side we see that there are those problems, but that the business owner is somebody who is a doer, a mover, a very active person, we say, well, here we've got the person, the lever, who's going to help us put this company on track. So we realized that we couldn't just talk about the internal processes without considering the owner.
Wow, that's brilliant.
And once we looked at the two, we said, well, we're consultants. We have to do something as well. So then we put the third part, which is our own strategic diagnostic survey, which basically is a little bit more the more traditional, like where is the company in terms of its strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats? Where does the company want to go? What is the owner's vision? How well does the owner know his or her market? Those more traditional strategic marketing questions that don't necessarily come out or be reflected in either the ValueSys or the Insights programs. So we put that as our contribution. And then based on those three, well, I think we have a pretty good idea of where the company is at that point and where we can help it to grow.
And you know, as consulting goes, one of the things that I'm really impressed with Lynn, is that you're not making recommendations based on nothing at all. You're actually going in and collecting quite a bit of data by which you can formulate what your recommendations are going to be going forward.
Yes, that's exactly what we do in consulting, which is why sometimes the process takes so very, very long.
Sure.
And that's exactly why we decided to move to the 21st century and incorporate these software tools, as well as our questionnaire, which is also online, because we said, hey, we can't spend 3 weeks to a month learning a company like we did when we started 20 years ago.
Sure.
When I started 20 years ago, the first 3 weeks were just learning the company. Now you have 3 days, if that. So we ended up moving to an online platform, the Business Evaluation Diagnostic Service, which is going to help us do our job much faster and quicker. And that way, we can also massify it. We can reach a much larger audience. Small business owners don't have the $30,000, $50,000 it takes to hire a consultant to come in and help.
That's right.
Here we're charging 10% of that.
Wow.
We are charging
That's
10%
fantastic.
of that. And yet they're getting the whole 100% brain power that used to go into the $30,000 to $50,000 project.
And they get a deliverable to go.
And they get many deliverables. They get an overview of their company, they get specific recommendations for action, and they get a work plan.
That's fantastic.
Start here, do this first, then do that. Plus, we also coach them for 60 days via either emails or teleconferencing. They get 60 days. They have a total of 8 hours, live one-on-one sessions with myself or a senior consultant to help them implement the recommendations. I think it's a foolproof, unbeatable program.
No doubt.
And I sure hope as many business owners as possible take advantage of it.
And they can find more information
It's on our website. It is on our website.
Now, the website, again, if you have not caught it yet, I've been saying it as we come back from the break, but the website is www.lambdainternational.net. Definitely go on there, read some information about what Lynn does and how he can help improve your processes and improve your business. Now, you had a question about something called War Game?
Yeah, I was just grabbed by that. I don't know if I'm having a personality issue or what have you, but that really attracted me.
I'm a pacifist. Don't forget, I grew up in the 60s, Vietnam.
Make love, not war.
Make love. I still believe in that, by the way.
I do too.
And so, yeah, I call it now dynamic strategy simulation. But everybody calls it war game.
Dynamic strategy simulation.
Well, we have 2 minutes before the break, so I definitely want you to set this up.
Basically, what we do is we take the top executives of the company, bring them into a room, break them down into teams, and say, you are going to be the company and you're going to be the competitors. Now go at it.
Wow.
And so we have various rounds. Here we start with the first round. We even give them money. You have this much money to invest. What are you going to invest in? What kind of product? How are you going to market it? And we have a jury of 2 to 3 people, because at the end of every round, the company and the competitor present what their moves were.
Wow.
And then, obviously, without knowing what the other one is doing.
Right.
And so then the judges sit down and sort of look at the decks and say, well, based on this round, we think that the company won, or we think that the competitor won.
Well, the judges represent the marketplace.
The judges represent the marketplace,
Yeah.
exactly. And so they go on to the second round. And if you lost the first round, the bad news is you're going to have less money in the second round than the guy who won.
Which is real life.
Which is real life. And there's no crying allowed either.
No, there's no crying.
So we do that for 2 or 3 rounds, and what makes it particularly instructive is that then everybody learns.
Absolutely, because I'm going to tell you what, you want to learn, get in the war. You'll find out what you're made of then,
quickly.
that's for sure. Well, I tell you what now, so when we come back, Lynn, I want you to talk about some of the results you've gotten in the past, some of the things people have learned as a result of participating in the war games. Can we do that?
We can do that with some of it classified and hidden, of course, or I'd have to shoot you.
We'll change the names to protect it.
Change all the names.
Yeah. We can talk about it.
Okay, well, great. Folks, you're listening to Cruz and Hughes right here on Blog Talk Radio. We're here today with Lynn Geralt, and he is a business consultant extraordinaire. We're in the home stretch, so don't go away. You don't want to miss the next segment. We'll be right back.
Turn up the sales on your website today with anythinginternet.com. Anything Internet will evaluate your website for marketing power, for traffic, for conversion rates. We'll figure out why people buy and why people go away. We'll help you generate the correct traffic that will turn into customers and make you money. Turn the juice up on your website today with anythinginternet.com. Turn your website into a web business. 1-800-686-5986.
Very often, people come to me saying,
Stephen, how do I make radio advertising work?
or even worse,
We've tried radio ads before and got little to no response.
so how do you make the radio work for you? Well, you could have a clever jingle.
Come buy my stuff. Come buy my stuff.
Or you may act crazy and loud and have an unbeatable offer.
I'll save you cash. I'll save you time, and I'll do it today, guaranteed.
But these techniques may work for some and not for others. The real key to advertising is to go back to basic marketing principles. Target your ideal prospect, make your message clear and concise, and touch the listener by connecting to their needs. Stephen K. Media specializes in radio advertising promotion that effectively broadcasts your company's message, yielding higher response and better results. As an independent agency representing major talk radio stations, we help you negotiate rates and place your ads targeting your ideal prospect. Call us today at 713-278-9109 or visit stephenk.biz. That's 713-278-9109 or email info@stephenk.biz. Are you looking to improve your health and well-being? Have you lost your energy and vitality? Do you wake up feeling 10 years older than you actually are? Looking for a doctor who really listens? Looking for a natural alternative to your chronic health challenge? Dr. Dan Cuny is a chiropractic nutritionist who helps restore your health from the inside out using whole food supplements and specific nutritional counseling. Learn more about Dr. Dan's 7 Pillars of Health on his website, drdancuny.com, or give him a call at 713-295-9358.
Introducing the alternative to heavy news. Now at,
Excuse me, heavy news?
you know, disasters, politics, stock market,
And this alternative is...
coffee news. It's entertaining stories, famous quotes, and family fun. It's light news. Why it's so light, it's free.
Free?
In restaurants and coffee shops all across Houston. So next time you're waiting in a restaurant, look for coffee news. If they don't have it, tell them to get it by visiting coffeenewshouston.com.
It's light. It's free. It's coffee news.
Now playing at Regal Entertainment Group Theaters.
From Christopher Nolan. The storm's coming. The legend ends in IMAX. What are you? I'm Gautam Zirkidin. The Dark Knight Rises. Rated PG-13. Visit IMAX.com for showtimes and listings.
Go to www.regmovies.com to find showtimes and buy your tickets to this and other great feature films now. That's www.regmovies.com.
You're listening to Small Business Today with Cruz and Hughes. Follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. We're wherever you are.
Okay, welcome back to the show. Our guest today is Mr. Lynn Geralt. Lynn is a business consultant with Lambda International. You can reach him at lambdainternational.net. Lambda is spelled Lambda. We talked a little bit about the business evaluation and diagnostic, and one question that comes to mind is this relevant to all businesses across all industries?
Absolutely. It's totally agnostic.
Okay.
Whether you're in retail, whether you're a manufacturer, whether you're in healthcare, whether you're a solo practitioner, or whether you have a $15 or $20 million company, we believe that this process will help you.
Now, we had a scenario that we wanted to tell very quickly about the war game scenario. What are some of the key takeaways of a client that you've done this with?
We didn't call it a war game. Again, we call it dynamic strategic simulation. Hello, peace, love, and happiness.
All right.
Yeah, we did one about 5 or 6 years ago, which I mention it because it brought extremely good results. It was in a medical supply company, which had hit, to use your phrase, the slippery slope.
Right.
It was a concrete ceiling. They just couldn't break out of that. Mm-hmm. And so their effect, what we did is we took their sales teams and we broke them down into groups and said, well, guys, we need for you guys to compete with each other. We need for you guys to get us out of, break through this concrete ceiling. And so we let them loose for a few rounds, coming up with different ideas as to what came up. And some of the ideas were marvelous. Now, I have to say, this is 5 or 6 years ago before technology was where it now. One of the things they said, well, we need to have a red phone. a direct phone in the major clinics so that doctors or people in the emergency room can just lift up the phone and contact us if they need one of these medical supplies that aren't there on hand. And that was, wow, we'd never thought of that. Something else that came out, they said,
I'm going to have to hold you right there. You're going to have to come back next week and we're going to talk a little bit more.
I'll hold the rest. But the red phone. Our
guest today has been Mr. Lynn Gerald. If you want to connect with Lynn, you can do so at lambdainternational.net. We're going to have Lynn back, so don't worry. We're going to bring this level of expertise back to Cruz and Hughes. I want to thank you guys for tuning in with us today. This is a place where we discuss the topics that inspires entrepreneurs from thought to action. So until tomorrow, be smart, be successful, and above all else,
be in action.
Irvin, I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.